One technique I've been enjoying working with and has been pretty fruitful for me has been what I call somatic alchemical translation, which is kind of a fancy pants way of saying take a feeling, right, a sensation in the body, and then translate it into a term or a thought. And when I say do it alchemically, what that means is change the valence of it from negative to positive. So for example, if I start to feel like a shooting pain, I get a lot of pain sometimes in like my rib area. And it'll also sometimes kind of be like a pulsing or a strobing or a kind of a tightening. And if in that moment I can practice somatic chemical translation, okay, so I feel into this space, I feel exactly where I'm hurting, I feel the sensation of it. And if it's a pulsing, I allow that pulsing to turn into a voice or into a word, right? And what that can be is if it's pain, I can say love, right? Or I could say pleasure, or I could say healing, or I could say freedom. And what it can do is just break the spell of negativity, right? We feel pain. Instantly, the mind just goes, oh, that's bad. Oh, that's wrong. And the shame about that is it tends to then exacerbate the pain and make it worse because we're now introducing a negative vibration and a negative attitude around this physical discomfort. To heal it, what we really want to do is create a positive environment around it and to give it the compassion of just feeling it directly. And if you could do that wordlessly, probably the best practice. Somatic alchemical translation is this nice technique when we're struggling with it to kind of get ourselves into that mode, kind of like a little bit of a calisthenic or a warm up. And a little twist on it is, let's say the difficulties in your heart, or you're struggling and you just want to kind of get on track. You can use your heartbeat as the cue for the somatic alchemical translation. And what I've been noticing is that this can play out in some interesting ways. So you're having pain, either physical pain or you're having some mental torment, there's some clamor in the mind. And you're like, oh my God, I want to get out of this, but I don't know what to do. What do I do? Right, give yourself a breath or two. Try and pull it through the nose. See if you can pull it down through the diaphragm. And then see if in the spaciousness after your next exhale, see if you can actually feel your heart beating in your body. And one technique is you can kind of feel for your pulse. And then you can feel, sometimes just feeling the pulse and the rhythm of it will kind of awaken the feeling in the body. Like, oh yeah, that's where my heart is. That's the pulsing of it. So if you can feel the heart itself pulsing in your chest, then what you want to do is let that little beat of the heart be like the syllables of your statement. And you can make it even a multiple word statement. So I like one I've been doing lately is love what is, right? So love what is. Love what is. Okay. So then what's kind of wild about it is I'll notice there's kind of three ways that can go. The simplest way is that it just simply stays on the track of the heartbeat. And what you'll find is actually if you practice it, your kind of subconscious mind can take over and can keep it going for you, which is really nice because then, you're doing a task, you're doing the dishes, you're attending to someone or something else. And then like you have a little bit of space. It's kind of held that rhythm for you, that candle for you, almost kind of like a bass line, right, in jazz. And you've been kind of going off with your trumpet in all kind of different wild directions, doing your solos, experimenting. And now you've kind of found this nice bass line to come back to you. And it's not just the beauty of the heartbeat itself, but it's also this little reminder, this little bit of encouragement. Love what is. Love what is. Okay, so then the two other kind of maybe more interesting ones are feeling it kind of spiral up or feeling it curl down. So here's what I mean. So I'll be doing a somatic alchemical translation on the heartbeat. And what I'll feel is what I think is kind of either a stress or an anxious energy arise in the same area of the chest. And what I notice is it has a faster rhythm than the heartbeat. It starts to kind of speed up. So I'm going, love what is. Love what is. Love what is. Love what is. Love what, like, whoa, it's speeding up. What's going on? And that's actually an opportunity to recognize when you're no longer attending to the heart space, you're attending to some kind of doing energy in you, some kind of anxious energy, some kind of ambitious energy, some kind of energy that's trying to take you out of that space of just awareness and calming and into a state of you got to do this, you got to do that. Have you thought about this? Oh, do you remember this or that? Right? So during your somatic alchemical translation, if you're noticing your wording speeding up or you're having a hard time staying on the heart, that's an opportunity to reset. Now, on the opposite end of the spectrum, one thing I'm finding is I'll do the somatic alchemical translation, love what is, love what is, and I'll actually develop the ability to kind of slow it down. And I haven't done enough checking to see whether it's actually slowing down my pulse, but what I do notice is if I actually go to a slower pace than my heart and I try to stay kind of lovingly and calmly in their love, what is, I can actually create kind of an opening and a spaciousness in the heart space, which can actually then counteract some of that anxious energy, which is maybe wanting to kind of take the mantra and spin it off into speed and maybe get me off of it entirely. It can actually counteract that and create kind of a counterbalance to it that I think allows the heart to have that gyroscopic balance that we're always looking for, right? Between the heart that's in the world, able to engage with things at speed, and then the heart that's really actually beyond the world, the heart of the spirit, which actually doesn't have any concern with time or with the anxieties of time. This third move I'm talking about of going into the somatic alchemical translation and then actually trying to influence the rhythm of the body itself with the speed of the mantra, I'm finding that it does, at least temporarily, create some spaciousness, create some softness, allows that heart to go more into that spirit mentality, that spirit mode of being. And again, it's relatively new, but I'm curious to see what happens with it as I continue to experiment.